In the spring of 2005, Clackamas County Sheriff's Office hosted a special event at the county's Public Safety Training Center. Sheriff Craig Roberts and other county officials unveiled 4 state-of-the-art driving simulators that are new additions to the Sheriff's Office driver training program.
The white van is his suspect vehicle that's fleeing the burglary. Those are the types of conflicts we can never replicate out in a training environment, yet happen every day. So this is the piece that we cannot recreate out in a driving world environment that we can here.
The event was the public's introduction to a project that's been in development for several years.
This project started, as I said, about 4 years ago, and it was our vision to bring to Clackamas County driving simulators. We spent 4 years traveling to various locations, taking a look at driving simulators. In fact, for being lay people, we're actually probably more versed than most of the salespeople in driving simulations today. I say that with a little bit of pride.
Traditionally, the Sheriff's Office driver training program has consisted of classroom study and test course driving exercises in a controlled setting. While these training methods are essential in teaching the operation and physical handling of a vehicle, instructors have always found limitations in the closed course training environment. Lieutenant David O'Shaughnessy recognized that drivers in the field will encounter situations that by nature cannot be replicated on a test range.
That's the one thing that's been missing with our driver's training program. We have fantastic field training. We go out and learn about the dynamics of the vehicle, how the inputs we have on the car affect what the car does, how to be safer drivers. But there's only so far you can go in that environment. We cannot then see how they interact with other traffic around. We can't have pedestrians walking out in front of them at a track while they're driving 60 miles an hour. It's just not a safe environment for us. So traditionally, we talk about how to do things appropriately, talk about policy, we talk about safety, we go out and we practice with the vehicles, and then we turn them loose on the city streets.
Lieutenant O'Shaughnessy and Captain Mike Machado began to research new driver education technologies with the goal of adding a new component to the driver training program.
Ultimately, both of us, Lieutenant O'Shaughnessy and I, are very committed to training, and training is, quite frankly, one of the most important things that a law enforcement officer can participate in. Vehicles are a 2,000-pound bullet, and the safe operation of those vehicles is critical not only to the safety of the officers, but the safety of our community as well. And we have to make decisions, we have to employ the basic driving skills that we're trained to use. To do that, though, does require hands-on training. The problem is that hands-on training can only go so far.
The key component they were looking for was the ability to place drivers in an environment that exposed them to real-world hazards in a controlled setting. They wanted drivers to experience factors like traffic, weather, pedestrians, and criminal pursuits. This would facilitate trainers to add mental and emotional dimensions to the training program. Emotional and physical reactions to stress can have a big impact on a driver's skills.
In an adrenaline environment, you have a pursuit, your body perceives physiologically that there's a threat. You flood with adrenaline, your peripheral vision shuts down, your fine motor skills go away, your gross muscle groups are now being fed, which can create a iron grip on the steering wheel. Your shoulders and your large muscle groups in your legs are being fed instead of the things where we normally drive a car by pivoting our foot at the ankle and maybe moving the toes a little bit. Now your quadriceps and your glutes are pushing down onto the pedals harder, both your gas and the brake pedal. Your peripheral vision is gone, and your focus vision, it really does create a tunnel effect.
A solution presented itself to Captain Machado while on a trip to another training facility.
Basically, in 2001, I had opportunity to travel to another law enforcement agency in California. And I had originally gone down to look at that facility's emergency vehicle operations track. And while I was there, had the opportunity to experience driving simulators that this facility had. With that experience, it led me to believe that there were more things that we could do in Clackamas County that would enhance our training. I mean, I seriously believe we are one of the leaders in the state when it comes to creative training ideas and opportunities.
Once they established that driving simulators could suit their training needs, Lieutenant O'Shaughnessy and Captain Machado began the process of funding the project. In an era of recession and budget cuts, finding money for new training tools was a tough task. The two spent years writing proposals and applying for grants.
We struggled at times. We think we had a funding source. The funding source would go away for any number of reasons. And then subsequently last year, in 2004, we had opportunity to work with the Clackamas County Risk Management Committee, and through them and through a grant with the federal government, we were able to obtain funding and subsequently ended up with the 4 driving simulators, as well as a modular truck insert.
The Sheriff's Office and Clackamas County's Risk Management Division partnered with Doron Precision Systems, a pioneer in driving simulation technology, to design and implement the new training system. The resulting facility is impressive not only technologically, but in its versatility as well.
The driving simulators are set up where there's an actual cab component, so you sit down at a sedan cab, you have seat belt activation, you have the ability to turn the car on, be able to put it into a gear that you want to drive in. The driving world itself replicates city blocks, it replicates buildings, there's cul-de-sacs, freeway driving, rural driving. It gives you 24-hour clock, so we can have somebody drive in daylight with sun glare in their eyes, or they can drive at night. We can replicate rain conditions, snow conditions. Again, we can employ traffic signals, stop signs, uncontrolled intersections. We can create responses to calls. We can build scenarios and put in other cars and people and transit buses and fire trucks and other law enforcement vehicles, and be able to recreate traffic collisions so that we can train our deputies and other law enforcement in those same scenarios without creating damage.
Well, we have the 4 simulator cabs set up around the perimeter of the room, basically, so that from the instructor station, which is a raised platform, the person running the simulator system can look over the shoulder of each driver and see that everything's running properly. With the 4 cabs that we have, which is basically 4 different driving stations, we can feed an individual exercise into each one of those cabs, where 4 different drivers can be in 4 different places doing 4 different things. They can all be in the same place without each other there doing different things. Or we can link any cabs together or all of the cabs together. So we can have an interactive scenario where one person is driving and the other 3 can then interact with that person and with each other. So you could have a driving environment where you look over and see the car next to you, and that's the person in the next cab over driving.
The feedback from those who have used the system has been singularly positive.
Everybody that's gone through has said it's a fantastic tool. It's something that they wish they could have done long ago, especially when you start to see, we see it a lot in police drivers, of course, because that's who we're kind of showcasing to right now, but we've had opportunity with civilians to show them that, and almost everyone has said they wish they could have experienced something like that in this controlled environment before they went out with their fresh driver's license and drove on the street. Hazard recognition and accident prevention is the biggest component of the simulation training that pretty much everybody that's has driven it has said that they wish they could have done that before they went out and learned, unfortunately, from experience what was leading up to an accident.
Instructors have found the simulators an invaluable tool for driver training, owing greatly to the ability to immerse drivers into the virtual world, then place them into real-world situations outside of their prior experience.
You will find that when they're out of their comfort zone, they resort back to habit. And the simulators are a great environment for taking somebody out of their comfort zone, and the instructors can identify within seconds how this individual's habits are transferred to the real world. And so we can correct that. The simulators provide a great opportunity for the instructors to correct people's habits, give them the tools for going back and building the correct basics. We can provide, again, even though it may be, as you stated, an illusion, when you add traffic, you add speed to it, you add all the components that we can add into it, I guarantee you the students that go through that will experience a real-world feeling. We see adrenaline increases, we see breathing change, we see people start yelling at the machines in some cases because a car won't get out of their way, which we've actually created.
With the simulator environment, we can introduce a pursuit. The simulators are so effective that once a driver's in that environment with some orientation, they get engrossed, they get wrapped into this world that's created in the simulation and feel like they're in a real car again. So we dim the lights in the room, we keep the temperature down, which just pulls them into that environment so they feel like they're actually in a car. So now we create a pursuit scenario or some type of emergency response. We can start to see those physiological effects. Now we can train our drivers to recognize when that hits and to consciously tell the body, I don't need the adrenaline, and it will dissipate within a couple of seconds.
In addition to the driving simulators, the training center hosts a pistol use training system.
The particular model that we use is called laser shot. And laser shot allows us to create video scenarios. And also there's different types of targeting systems that we can use for our law enforcement officers without having to go to live fire to a range. For example, we can recreate video traffic stops. We can recreate domestic disturbances. We can put our officers into situations where there's, again, an interactive arena or scenario for them to have to talk to someone to employ the skills that we've been training them.
Stay where you are. Sir, please stay where you are. Stop right there, talk to me. Sir, do not get back in the car. Do not get back in the car. Sir, do not get back in the car. Police!
We use what we call airsoft, which is a laser light weapon. This allows us to be able to see where an individual is shooting at on a target. It also, we use a recoil system that uses compressed air, and that allows an individual to actually get the replication of a semi-automatic weapon that is actually recoiling in their hands. And again, it's great for corrective training, it's great for increasing proficiency, speed, all those types of things that, again, sometimes are not best replicated on a live fire range.
At the public unveiling of the new system in April, Sheriff Office and county officials were given the opportunity to test drive the simulators for themselves. Recognition was given to those whose efforts brought the new training tool to the county, and all acknowledged the added potential for making Clackamas County a safer place to drive.
Really, to have something like this come together, it really takes a lot of people, and I'm just thrilled because really when you look at the final outcome of what's going to happen is it's going to protect officers, it's going to protect the public, it is really going to protect the lives of a lot of people. And I think what I'm really thrilled about and excited about is the potential of some of the things we can do.
It's opened up a whole new world for us. You know, the instructors that went through the training, the instructors we have at our department are some of the best in the state. There's no question in my mind. We now have a tool that other instructors are envious of because of the potential that it has for making the county a safer place, making all drivers safer. Even those that don't come and use the simulator are going to be safer because of those that have gone through and aren't going to place others at risk.